ministers, representatives of different organizations, all dignitaries, all guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear staff of JCRC, dear patients, and last not least, dear Professor Mujeni, dear Peter. How came that I was involved in the foundation of JCRC? I was the director of Institute for Tropical Medicine in Hamburg at that time, and we were the first hospital in northern Germany to accept AIDS patients. Why? Because I thought we have been prepared as doctors specialized in tropical medicine, because some of the opportunistic diseases we knew from our time in the tropics, and that is Burkitt lymphoma, cryptococcal meningitis, Kaposi sarcoma, and tuberculosis, and others. So we thought it might be that the origin of this disease might be Africa, and that that was back in 1983. Now, when we have been treating some patients from Uganda, then I was invited to come here to see the situation. I think it was in 1988. And I remember that I sat together with the President Museveni in the State House overlooking the Lake Victoria under an open tent. That's what he liked, I think, all the time. And he was desperate. He said, we are in a desperate situation. My people is dying. And the same I heard of Dr. Mbonye, who also told me we must do something. In every family, patients are dying and children are left alone because the parents are dead. So when the president asked me what I would do, I said, well, in my opinion, 3 pillars should be included in a strategy against AIDS. At that time, there was no effective treatment against the virus. One was information of the public. Every man of the street, even in the most remote areas, should know what's the matter, what's the origin, what's the transmission of the disease, and how can it be prevented. The second is to give this information, include this information to give to media, TV, and journals. Also, the second part would be just to warn against promiscuity, to warn against unprotected sex with several partners, just to know that this is a way of transmission which could be prevented by these measures. And third, you should have a research institute, but not for research only, but an institute who is taking care of patients, because opportunistic infections could be treated at that time. And when you have this Institute for Research in AIDS, treating patients as well, you know the problems going on from day to day when you are taking care of the patients. On the other hand, you can treat all your doctors and medical personnel in the country to the best level. And also you are on the best level of knowledge what's going on in research and what are the results. Now, this has been adopted in founding the JCRC. And of course, I should not be reluctant to say, if Dr. Mbonye would not have been there, it would never happen like this. He was a real man to establish it. And further on, we have been supporting the establishment of the JCRC. My brother is an architect in Hamburg, and he made some plans for the renovation of these used buildings, more or less rundown buildings, to convert it into a laboratory and in an outpatient department, etc. Second, we could give some first equipment to the center, because Dr. Mbonye told me, we don't have money, or not much money. Also, we trained some technicians, and I'm sorry that I don't see Mr. Tugume. He was really a substantial person in the beginning to get a laboratory running. First, he spent a couple of weeks in Hamburg, and later 1 year. And he was really trained in virology. But this was also a very good cooperation with our department of virology, because we gave the institute the means of establishing the diagnosis of HIV, a very good diagnosis. And second, we gave the institute the possibility to do the T4, T8 counts with monoclonal antibodies, not only the microscope, but the monoclonal antibodies. At that time, there was no machine to do that. So one had to do it, looking at the microscope. But all this was done. And later on, of course, then under the leadership of Professor Mudeni, the institute has developed quite a bit. And I was surprised in 1993, I think he got a counting machine, a laser-driven counting machine. And I'm very optimistic, and I had always high expectations. But it might be, now it's a little bit going too far, too fast. But 10 years later, the machine was still working. This about maintenance of difficult or diligent machines in Uganda. It works. The other thing is that we could manage to get some funds for doing a study on tuberculosis treatment as one of the main killing agents besides HIV with immune deficiency. And this could also be done with the help of Dr. Schwander, an associate of mine, who spent a year here. And we could finance him from money from companies and other things. And we got the medications also from the companies in a prospective randomized study. I think it was one of the first clinical randomized studies ever done here in this country, perhaps in East Africa. I'm not sure, but it could be. This was published then later in a peer-reviewed journal. It's one of the first publications, the first or the second one, I guess. And Peter, if you don't have one on your file, I'll give it to you now. Now, coming back, everything has been said already about the success of this JCRC. I want to add one of the few remarks and motions I had when I was in Uganda, and since then I have been there many times. First of all, I was really touched how people were dealing with this lethal disease from the beginning. Fantastic. The second, the empathy of others helping their families and other friends, etc., was tremendous. Third, as Dr. Mbonye already said, the people were not outsourced, and it was done in early times of leprosy, for instance, just taken away in a small village or so. Now they lived with us under the treatment. It was, of course, much better to do and easier to do. Also, I was a little bit surprised that not only the treatment was started of opportunistic diseases later on with antivirals, but also, I hope I know the name now, is a retired Major, Roba Ramira, is that right? He was doing social and psychological care of the patients. And that was wonderful in the beginning of a research institute to have such institution of social and psychological care. What have I learned more? The people from the beginning have been very enthusiastic. They were engaged. They're motivated. And I've seen that in other parts of the Ugandan life is the same. Therefore, my love for Uganda was originating by our contacts in science and medical treatment, but later on I recognized what can be done. I don't want to copy Obama, but I say if some people are skeptic about what can be achieved in Africa, especially in Uganda, I say, Ugandans, they can.
Thank you, Professor Dietrich, for loving JCRC and loving Uganda. I would like now to invite Professor Henry Boom. Professor Henry Boom is representing our research collaboration with Case Western Reserve University, which started in 1990. So it's been 25 years of collaboration with Case Western Reserve University. You're most welcome.
Thank you. Prime Minister, Minister of Health, Director General, board members, and Director of the JCRC, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen, it's really a real honor and humbling experience to be here at this momentous occasion celebrating JCRC's 25th anniversary. I'm here on behalf of Case Western Reserve University, which has been a long-standing collaborating institution of the JCRC. In fact, I think we may be one of the first academic institutions that established a collaboration with the JCRC. And it really all started when my former chair, Dr. Gerald Elner, came to Uganda and met Dr. Mugeni and was looking for space to establish a laboratory. And Dr. Mugeni, now I understand, with no salary and no staff, I can understand his enthusiasm in offering the space that he had. But it was remarkable that his vision allowed the understanding of how important laboratories would be, and an insight that really wasn't present at the medical school at that time, or to the same extent. And so Dr. Mugeni immediately offered space at his site in Mengo, and we established an immunology lab, then a TB lab, and eventually a virology lab. And his generosity was so remarkable that as our space needs expanded, he kept moving his office until finally we evicted him from the building, and he was forced to seek a domicile elsewhere. But he was just always keen on what was going on and what were we doing, and please move me out of my office as soon as you can. And so within a short, in this very embryonal collaboration, the first flow cytometry machine that was referred to earlier was established. Again, a lot of skepticism. Could this happen? Could this happen in sub-Saharan Africa? And I think these were the first CD4 counts in sub-Saharan Africa that were done, and soon viral loads were done, and now drug resistance testing. And really, this collaboration has never looked back since those early days. And what followed were innumerable research projects that are still going on around HIV, of course, but also tuberculosis was immediately part of it, and of course the interaction of HIV and TB. And in addition to providing research that would be helpful for care, as was referred to earlier, the importance of being on that edge between clinical care and research, there was also a huge training component that was developed, and a lot of this was supported, at least on the US side, by the Fogarty International Center at NIH. And many of the trainees that were trained through this manner have gone on to occupy leadership positions in public health, in research, and academia in Uganda, not only in HIV/AIDS, but also in TB and HIV/TB. And it certainly has been truly a remarkable journey. So on behalf of all my current and former CWRU colleagues, and there are many. I just want to congratulate the JCRC on this really reaching these amazing milestones. And certainly we look forward to many more years of collaboration, research training, and not only that, but also a great friendship. And I have really enjoyed this friendship, especially these last 2 days, since the results of the U.S. election were not exactly to my liking. And I've received great solace from my Ugandan colleagues. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. We are sorry. We are sorry for you. I would like now to invite Margaret Sancho or Sanko from USAID. She's the Director for Health and HIV/AIDS in the Office of Uganda. And without USAID, we would not be able to treat the number of patients that we have treated. We were treating about 10,000 patients by the end of 2003. We have started over 100,000 patients on ARVs because of support from USAID. We are very grateful.
Thank you for that introduction. Thank you so much. Right Honorable Prime Minister Rukana Rugunda, Honorable Minister of Health, Dr. Jane Acheng, and incoming Permanent Secretary, Dr. Atwine, other officials of Ugandan government ministries, honorable members of Parliament, Professor Opero, Chairman of the Board of Joint Clinical Research Center, and other board members present, Professor Mujenyi, JCRC Director, staff and clients of JCRC, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Just as the other speakers, it's truly a great pleasure for me to be here today, representing the United States Agency for International Development, our Mission Director, Mark Messick, who unfortunately could not be here today. USAID is just one of the US government partners that supports and implements PEPFAR around the world, and it's our honor to be able to be here and work with all of you in addressing the issue of HIV/AIDS. And I just wanted to start out first and foremost by saying to all the distinguished guests, congratulations to JCRC on celebrating their Silver Jubilee, which has been a long-time partner of the US government. And I'm very aware that JCRC was begun by President Museveni at a time when Uganda had one of the highest prevalence rates of HIV in the world. The President's decision to establish JCRC and all the work of all those individuals to come together to help those infected and affected by HIV/AIDS, and also with the mandate to find scientific solutions to address the AIDS epidemic, was a key milestone in the global fight against HIV and the fight against HIV here in Uganda. JCRC, like many other local indigenous institutions, represents Uganda's commitment to fight HIV and AIDS. JRC was established in 1991. At that time, there was no place in Uganda to get treatment for AIDS. And actually, in many other places in the world, there was not a place where you could get treatment. I started my public health career in the late 1980s, early 90s. I was working in Cameroon as well as in the US. And at that time, there was nothing to offer people. All you could offer them was palliative care, care for opportunistic infections. An NGO that I worked with, we provided legal support, meaning wills and other documents, so people could have a legacy for their children. It's amazing where you think about where we have come today. And I was so happy to see the young people and the other clients who are here, because 25 years ago, we would not have seen that. We would not have seen people who've survived and are thriving and are healthy. At the time, as been mentioned, Ugandans had to travel abroad to get life-saving and costly drugs, and that option was not available to many. And so it's just so good to see how things have changed and how we've been able to move forward. And treatment is available to everyone who needs it, and they can get that. And JCRC was one of the first organizations in Uganda to provide these services. And to that, we should definitely give them another round of applause. They've done an excellent job, excellent service, and excellent support. Ladies and gentlemen, significant progress has been made in recent years to reduce new HIV infections and AIDS-related deaths, the extensive rollout of HIV prevention and treatment services in Uganda. And this has been done through our partnership with JCRC and other partners. USAID and the US government's partnership with JCRC alone has yielded tremendous results. And over the past 13 years, more than 100,000 patients have received care and treatment services. JCRC has been a strong partner of the US government since 2003. USAID's first formal agreement with JCRC was the regional expansion of antiretroviral therapy project, commonly known as TREAT. TREAT was a $69 million 7-year project designed to expand care and treatment in Uganda. Through TREAT, JCRC established HIV treatment in 75 health facilities across all regions of Uganda and treated more than 90,000 Ugandans. Also through this project, JCRC was able to establish the 7 centers of excellence across the country that have helped lead the way in innovative approaches to providing quality HIV/AIDS diagnosis and treatment. The centers of excellence were instrumental in pioneering early infant diagnosis and viral load monitoring in the country. And this partnership between USAID and JCRC demonstrated to the world what was possible, and it is possible and was possible to provide high-quality HIV services in a resource-constrained setting. Currently, JCRC and USAID are partnering on targeted HIV/AIDS laboratory services, or the THALAS project. And this $22 million 7-year project focuses on capacity building and has successfully transitioned sites that were directly under JCR support to the government of Uganda management. Currently, with THALAS support, more than 15,000 patients are receiving ART at this JCRC center, in particular in Lubowa. So today we're celebrating JCRC's Silver Jubilee, which is an important phase in the overall fight against HIV/AIDS. Several studies have confirmed that early HIV treatment not only has a profound impact on health outcomes for people living with AIDS and HIV, but a significant impact on prevention. The current UNAIDS 90-90-90 goals call for test and treat policy for all HIV-positive individuals. And that means starting all individuals who test positive for HIV immediately on ART treatment, irrespective of their stage in the disease. With test and treat and the achievement of UNAIDS 90-90-90 goals, we will be able to end this epidemic by 2030. And I think that's a goal that all of us need to aspire to. We need to do all that we can do to end it. So the implementation of Test and Start in Uganda will prevent more than 700,000 new infections, avert 98,000 AIDS-related deaths, and decrease the projected total of the number of people living with HIV/AIDS by 626,000 by 2030. So today, as we celebrate JCRC's Silver Jubilee, we also celebrate our partnership and we celebrate the success that we have here with us today. The US government is committed to continuing our collaboration with the government of Uganda and other development partners to implement test and treat, other programs, and to hasten the end of the HIV/AIDS epidemic in Uganda and in the world, if all possible. So finally, in closing, please accept my congratulations on JCRC's Silver Jubilee, as well as my best wishes for a continuation of your highly successful record in the years to come. I thank you, and I wish you all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. We look forward to working with you for the next 25 years. Now, may I invite our chairman of the board, Professor Opio Epelu. Please give him a big clap. he has guided us well.
I don't know. Our guest of honor, the Honorable Minister of Health, and the PS of Health, all invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I think before I say a word, I would like to invite my colleagues on the board to stand here so that they can also be seen in public instead of seeing your backs and all that. Members of the board, please come. Those who are here. The one here in yellow necktie, and you know what yellow means, is the principal of the College of Health, Makego University College of Health, based in Mulago. And he's the only one who has not been closed. He has now opened. I don't know what government did to choose College of Health only after closing the university. Tell us your name.
Honorable Prime Minister, my name is Professor Charles Sivinjira from Makerere University College of Health Sciences. Congratulations, JCRC.
Next to me is a tower above all of us here, and he has been with me since 1998 on the board.
Honorable Prime Minister, Ndugu, my name is Ben Okelolum. It is true I've been on the board for long, together with the professor. I am not a doctor or a professor. I'm mainly a financial person. Thank you.
Next to him.
Our guest of honor, Prime Minister, our Minister of Health who has been with us. She now left me the only person, gender-wise, on this board. So I cannot thank her for that. All invited guests, you are very welcome. My name is Jessica Jita. I am a pediatrician, child health, and I've been working on this board, privileged to serve on this board for 2 years.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've already introduced myself. And,
okay. Now you can go and sit down. Ladies and gentlemen, when we came onto the board in November 1998, that's 1998. So we are literally 18 years old on the board, one of the longest serving boards in this country. Guest of honor, when we came in, we had a big challenge. You see, this is a board which was chaired by none other than the head of state. Then followed Honorable Chionga. And then came Dr. Makumbi. Then Mr. Amama Mbabazi. The other one which we left out is the Deputy Chief Justice of Uganda, Kavuma, Stephen Kavuma. So when we came in, we had a big challenge. One of the biggest challenges was getting complete set of minutes of board sittings. So you can imagine how we started. It was so difficult. When we came in, there were no committees on the board. So it was a whole board doing the whole job without committees doing the groundwork. So one of my suggestions was that we must look like a corporate body. We must operate like a corporate body. And then we set up committees. We set appointments committee. We set up audit committee or finance committee. And now audit committee. And we deal with mainly appoint few people on top. The executive director, the deputy, the finance manager, now the directors of the departments. There were no departments before, but now we have them. And I think it has been difficult all this time, but somehow with God's support, we moved on. As Professor Mujenyi said, he had no salary. So we said, how can you be a volunteer all this long? And he said, yes, I will continue being a volunteer. And we had also to make sure that we look after all the staff in terms of benefits and salaries. So one thing was to have a standard system of paying people. Because in the past, some people were getting more pay than the others, depending on what project you are on. So we have standardized that. I want to say, and I want to congratulate all the staff of this center, that I've never seen a government organization where people work like this at this GSCIC. I've never seen it in this country. These people work like ants or termites, and they do the work. They come on time, they commit themselves, and they leave on time. But the clinics and the center, these buildings behind you, things go on moving smoothly. Without supervision, they supervise themselves. And we should give them a clap for that. And because of that, the board was so pleased and said, we should give you something more, which we did. But we have not been able to do it again. But God willing, if we are still on, we shall still consider you and see how much we can add on to that little we are getting. I don't want to say much about Lubowa campus because you have all seen. When we started, we were at Mengo. As the ED said, he was in a kitchen initially. He was not a cook, but he was a cook of knowledge and all that. I came onto the board when a gentleman, a colleague, we used to play tennis and joke at Kampala Club, talked to me and said, we have a problem. Can you help us to be a chairman of the board here? That person is none other than Dr. Mbonye, who has said much about here. Ben Mbonye, who is there. I said, you know, I'm busy with fighting students, but he said, you can also fight with workers. So I accepted and took all that responsibility. Ben, thank you. It was a challenge, and I think he has made me mature as a good leader. The ED has said all successes of JCIC. I will not go into that. But one thing is that I think we behaved like a lizard. There is a lizard with a blue head or a white head. One time it was on top of a tree, and when a storm came and the wind, it fell down. And when it fell down, it went into a coma. And when he managed to recover, he looked aside. He couldn't see any person to say thank you for surviving. So he started nodding his head. And he has continued nodding that head up to today. And that's what JCIC is. At this organization here, we practice what we call corporate governance. As I said, if the HE was here, I would say, we here conduct what we call hakuna mchezo. In JCIC, hakuna mchezo hapa. You misbehave, the ED deals with you. We gave him powers to whip the staff, and I think he's doing a commendable job. He's doing it not by beating, but he's doing it by applying the law and conditions here. That gentleman called Professor Mujenyi, he looks so humble. But he's good, he's humble. Because he comes from that background where God was on top. And that's what he does. I don't think he practices it, but that's what happens. I will not take long with you. Today, we are 25 years old. We are celebrating this. And this is because of what these people have done. Guests of honor, these people have done a commendable job. Some of us will leave and say, I think we left something behind. And those who will take over will have that challenge.